Hello again, and thank you for listening to this episode of the How to Life podcast. This is the podcast that helps you learn how to succeed at this adulting thing. I'm Dr. Laura Jaggett, and right now you are listening to episode 51. There are so many ways to develop character and leadership and teamwork and so many other skills that will only help you throughout your life. And one of those ways is through volunteering. It's really important to learn how to help others and give of your skills and time. It encourages generosity and selflessness and compassion. And it's also really fun. These things are not only good for other people, they're good for your own soul as well. And did you know that you can earn service and leadership awards and scholarship and hours by doing this? These are traits that many colleges and employers look for in potential students and employees. But until recently, it was often very challenging to find volunteer opportunities. Then there was keeping track of hours, verifying those hours, and keeping it all organized so that one day you could submit it to advisors or counselors or clubs or programs or scholarship applications or colleges. Do you remember? It was a little daunting, but not anymore. Today, I am speaking with the CEO and founder of Volunteer Crowd, which is a phenomenal resource for middle school and high school students to find and gain volunteer experience. You can search for volunteer opportunities not only in your own city, but by zip code. You can search for specific types of volunteering that you want to do. There are even Zoom-based opportunities. Not only that, this site will create a transcript of your hours. It records your strengths, and advisors and leaders can even write references about your personality and character. They verify everything for you. Everything that used to be floating around on various pieces of paper or worse, lost, is all kept together in one tidy transcript that colleges and employers absolutely love. There is so much to say about this incredible resource. So without further ado, I am going to let Amy Van Kana, the CEO and founder of Volunteer Crowd, tell you all about it herself. Hi, Amy. Thanks so much for joining the How to Life podcast. I'm very happy you're here. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation.
Yes, I have a young audience, and this topic, at least for me when I was growing up and when my kids were younger, I didn't know much about. I don't think a lot of people know about it, so I think this is going to bring a lot of light to this topic. Before we begin, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Amy Van Kana, and I am the CEO and founder of Volunteer Crowd. I launched Volunteer Crowd in the summer of 2019, but the story began before that. I used to do research on software that students would use in the classrooms. And then fast forward a few years later, I was asked to serve on the board of a national teen volunteer club. And with my technology background, I noticed that it was very difficult for students to volunteer. I also noticed that there was really just one number that students got for all of their hard work and effort, and that was the number of hours. And I knew that that was one end of the story of their impact. So I created the first volunteer transcript, ended up leaving the club because I envisioned a volunteer platform for all students, those who are in clubs, those who volunteer for their school programs, and those who want to volunteer on their own. But I wanted to open access to volunteering to everyone.
Has volunteering always been something that you have been passionate about?
I became passionate about it through my kids because what I saw was how different they were. But these are just my kids. I observed this over and over. I would take a group of kids and I thought I had them all figured out. I thought I'd seen everything there was to see about some of these individuals, and wow, they just blossomed. And I thought that they just deserved to have their stories told. When they came to life, when they found something that really inspired them, when they inspired others, I thought that's something we really need to capture. And that's something college would like to know about. It's something an employer would like to know about, or if they apply for a scholarship.
What do you think is the importance of volunteering?
Volunteering is a way to do a lot of things. First of all, you can discover what you love. Equally important, you can discover what you don't love. I know of a student who volunteered in hospitals. She was convinced she wanted to be a nurse. The smell of the hospital made her nauseated. Thank goodness her parents didn't put her through 4 years of nursing school. So I think it really opens up your eyes to seeing how what you learn in the classroom is actually applied in the real world.
How important is volunteering to colleges or even to employers?
It's becoming more important. In the last 2 years, college admissions has really gone through a change. That's putting it lightly. First of all, we had varsity blues. And after that, colleges thought, we really need to take a harder look at some of these extra curriculars that students are reporting and make sure that we can corroborate what they say. And so it got to the point where proof became really, really important. Also, with test scores no longer being required this fall, at 72% of colleges and universities, all of a sudden there was a big gap, a big void of information, where college admissions officers suddenly realized there's a whole piece of information they're missing about the student. And so they want to fill in that gap. But if you think about it, everyone's trying for the same test score. They're all trying for the 1600 or the 36. And a college admissions officer looking at students that look the same isn't necessarily going to be a good thing. It makes the job of selecting the right student for that program much more difficult, and it increases the odds that that student might be a mismatch for that program. And so volunteering tells colleges how you are different. Are your soft skills things like leadership, or is your work ethic one of your defining characteristics? Because colleges are not the same, just like students aren't the same. And so they want to find a student that fits well, and volunteering gives colleges a glimpse of the future you.
How soon can you start volunteering?
You can start volunteering as soon as kindergarten. For example, you could go to a food bank and hand things to people to package up meal kits. You can go to a beach cleanup and put on some gloves. You can start as small and as early as you like.
In the past, it was hard to document your volunteer hours or even get volunteer hours. And that's where Volunteer Crowd comes in, correct?
Yes. My goal was to make sure that students can manage the entire volunteer process. So it starts with finding a volunteer opportunity. And we provide volunteer opportunities to students, as well as students come to us and track hours for volunteering they've already done. We put it all together. We combine individual, club, and school hours. And then we verify those hours. We either verify it with the nonprofit they served, or in a lot of cases, students are doing community-based service as part or under the supervision of their school. So we would reach out to an educator in that case. And then because we're verifying them, we're able to qualify them for things like the President's Volunteer Service Award. So it's another piece of information about the student that really helps colleges understand not only your brain, but your heart.
How does Volunteer Crowd work? How can a student get in, access it, and utilize it?
We have a website, and that's where students can find volunteer opportunities. Our app is really where the magic happens because, like the website, you can find volunteer opportunities. And let's talk about finding volunteer opportunities. A lot of students will go to a big volunteer website. Volunteer Match is a great volunteer directory if you're an adult. If you're a student and you're looking for something really specific, like your club or group, or you're looking for your AP or IB service project or a capstone project, if you're looking for an internship versus virtual volunteering, we allow you to sort in all of those different ways, including age as well. We also have a feature where you can say, show me volunteer opportunities in a cause I like that's virtual, that has a leadership component to it. And then in the app, once you select, I want to volunteer, well, we save that volunteer opportunity. So when it's time to track your volunteer hours, you literally put in a description of what you've done and the time and the date, and you hit send, and then we verify it. So it really takes a lot of the heavy lifting away from the student from the parents, from the school counselors, and then your transcript builds. And you can watch that happen in the app. You can see how many hours you have against your goals for the President's Volunteer Service Award. You can see your hours by portfolio. And this is the student's favorite part. They can see all of their recommendations. So it's really nice when students understand how others view their strengths, because we all have strengths, but you may think that you're a great communicator. And maybe you think, well, my work ethic is okay. Well, what if a lot of different volunteer organizations are suddenly saying, hey, this person has a really great work ethic? You begin to see your strengths through other people's eyes.
Are you able to put together sort of a separate transcript that you can add with your academic transcript to turn into schools?
We have one comprehensive transcript where you can combine all the school, club, and individual volunteering, your hours by cause, your top 5 organizations you serve. We show your recommendations, and you can build that transcript. We don't put an age limit on Volunteer Crowd. You can start when you're 5. You can leave when you're 99, 100. So what's really nice is that when students volunteer throughout high school and go to college, they're going to volunteer some more. Colleges are great places to engage in additional volunteering. So you don't have to start over with a clean slate. You've already brought your volunteer transcript with you. And like your academic transcript, you can combine everything. And it's graphic, and we can send it to 99% of colleges and universities.
How do you find the organizations who need volunteers, or do they find you?
So keeping in mind that I worked for a national teen volunteer club previously, I had a lot of those relationships already. Now, when students add their hours, we become aware of new volunteer opportunities. And the volunteer organizations, honestly, they find us a lot of the time, and they ask if they can add their volunteer opportunity. But we vet everything because it has to be nonprofit. We want our students to give their skills, their time. And just a note about their skills, they could not have been in more demand during the last 12 months because nonprofits did a lot of community-based outreach, literally in the physical world. And all of a sudden, they had to move a lot of things online. Who better to navigate the online world than someone in high school or college? They live online. And so they were able to open up a lot of new possibilities and audiences for some of these nonprofits. So Gen Z is really the hero of the COVID-19 volunteering era.
Now, I heard you can get scholarships for volunteering as well. Is that true?
It is true. There are a lot of community service scholarships. And then one of the things that may not be as well known is that often the colleges have discretionary funds as well. So if a student can get in and maybe doesn't have the funding, they can offer a community service scholarship. So we want to encourage students to be prepared and have a really good transcript. So then when that opportunity presents itself, they can show, look, I've done all of this volunteering, and so I'm a good candidate for this community service scholarship.
How can you sign up for Volunteer Crowd? What's the process to do that?
You go to volunteercrowd.com and you can sign up on our website. You can also download the app and sign up on the app. And then you can start looking at volunteer opportunities right away. We have a 7-day free trial where you can try everything. You can add in your hours. You can see how they start to look against your President Volunteer Service Award goals. You can see your hour breakdown by causes. And then after that, you can decide if you want to join as a premium member, where you can continue to access all of our premium projects and also have your hours verified. Now, the question I often get, especially from schools, is, are there opportunities for students who don't pay? Yes, our commitment to schools is that we will always help your students find their 10 hours a year of volunteering. We have tons of volunteer opportunities, but Volunteer Crowd Premium Services, that's really for the student who wants to build that transcript, find that really hard to find, selective, and in high demand volunteer opportunity. So we're a service for volunteering, just like a student would go to a service if they needed tutoring or test prep. But we're a lot less expensive. So volunteer crowd costs $99 a year. That's about the same as an hour or two of tutoring. Will it help you differentiate yourself when it comes time for a college admissions officer to evaluate you as a candidate? Absolutely. What we hear over and over is they like having everything in one place. Because if you're like most students, you probably have a dozen pieces of paper somewhere, who knows where, and then you self-report your hours. And so the student who self-reports his or her hours versus a student who can produce a transcript, well, it's just that added layer of corroboration and credibility.
Are references built into the volunteer crowd membership platform as well?
The strength and skill endorsements absolutely are. And in 2021, we are broadening to provide individual commentary and references and more free-form recommendations. We're also building in a component where students can request a letter of recommendation. And the reason for that is that's what a lot of colleges look for. So since we already have the information about the student, it's really easy to send that request along with the transcript so the nonprofit can see the entire breadth of the student's work. And then we have a way to securely get that letter of recommendation from the nonprofit to the college or university. And I should be speaking in the future tense because that is something that's coming this year.
This sounds very convenient because my kids have done different programs, youth programs, where they've traveled and they've needed this information. And it sounds like you can use it for all different types of applications.
You can. It's at your disposal, and it will help you get a part-time job when you're in school. It will help you get that first paid internship because someone can see that you actually are dedicated, focused, mature, and that you care. At the end of the day, they want to see that you're personally invested.
A lot of students, when you graduate from college, they'd have some trouble getting a job because they had never worked before. But when you volunteer, you are gaining valuable work experience, interpersonal relationships, how to communicate, how to work with a group. And that is something that employers are looking for, someone who has those skills. So volunteering can do that for you when it's time for you to enter the workforce.
Again, it gives colleges and employers a glimpse of the future you. They don't have to guess, will this person show up on time? Will they take the job seriously? Will they care about it? Will they communicate with others? Do they know how to collaborate? Because when you volunteer and you memorialize all of your work and all of your interactions with a volunteer transcript, then you're able to provide credible information about what type of employee you're going to be.
Do a lot of schools know about Volunteer Crowd right now? Would a college, a student counselor know about this?
We are on several hundred school websites, learning management systems and content management systems. But yes, we see new schools adding us to their website. We see a lot of colleges right now.
All right, that's really exciting. And you can volunteer through college and beyond, correct?
Yes. In fact, we are adding an employee component because we have had so many employees say, well, I do skill-based volunteering. I'm a developer and I give my time to, this nonprofit that I volunteered for off and on, throughout my life. Now I'm helping them build a website or I'm helping them write some PowerPoint presentations or a grant. And so because we've been asked that, we already have the setup for it. So if you want to, as an employee, build a volunteer transcript, we've got the tools for you to do that.
I know the website. Do you have a blog? Where else can people find out about Volunteer Crowd?
I'm actually glad that you mentioned the blog because that brings a lot of individuals to the website. So it's blog.volunteercrowd.com. And so we've been talking a lot about the process of volunteering. There's a lot more to it. We try to provide all of the underlying information that you need to make it a successful volunteer experience for you and for the nonprofit. If you think about it, this may be the first time that a student steps into a professional establishment. Well, I know that with my first job, I sat and wondered, how should I dress for this? How should I introduce myself? When I'm done, what should I say? So we have a lot of different virtual events where we will feature experts who tell you about that. When it comes time to write about my volunteer experience, my personal statement, how should I do it? How should I represent it on my resume? So we not only help students volunteer, but we help them understand how to make it meaningful for them, get prepared in advance, do an incredible job when they're there, and then also use that experience as a stepping stone to something that's important to them in the future.
Fantastic information. Thanks again, Amy.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Wow. What an amazing and very needed tool. And it's not just for middle school and high school students. You can start young. You can start old. Volunteering adds a sense of purpose and kindness to your life. Go and see for yourself. Check out volunteercrowd.com. Download the app. Read the blog for related articles and information at blog.volunteercrowd.com. All of the contact information and links mentioned in this episode can be found at howtolife.com/051. If you're on the college track and you'd like to learn more about scholarships and grants and how to position yourself to get this money, I also recommend listening to episode 43. Career and college counselor Rick Palo gives his insider tips on the what, where, and hows of getting college scholarships. There is so much great information in that show. In case you forget the web addresses, all of the How to Life content, the podcast episodes, and the Mominars can be found on my website, howtolife.com. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you found this information helpful. Before you go, please hit the 5-star button on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you're listening to. Life is exciting, isn't it? Especially when you can get some answers to things that you have been wondering about. And I am very happy to help you out in any way I can. I will be back next time with another fun, informative show. I hope the rest of your week is wonderful and satisfying. Keep up the good work. You're doing great. You got this.